Good morning. Welcome to the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm Chris Corey. I serve as the board secretary. Whether you've been with us on Sundays for a long time or you're visiting us for the first time today, we welcome you in our service. This congregation is diverse in beliefs, with participation open to all who agree with our covenant mission and values, regardless of your partisanship or lack thereof. We're a welcoming congregation to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, races, ethnicities, and abilities. We unconditionally welcome you as your full, authentic self to our community of care, spiritual growth, and personal growth. Our congregational mission is to strengthen our connections to one another and the planet by enlivening minds and spirits, building community through liberating love, and advocating fiercely for justice. It is a custom here to acknowledge visitors and newcomers. If it's your first time or one of your first times, would you mind raising your hand so we can welcome you? Oh, yay! Well, welcome. We're glad you came. We all are invited to join us for coffee after the service, and new and newish people and shy people are invited to grab a green mug located just inside the door on the right of the fellowship hall, so we can spot you and speak to you during coffee hour. You're also welcome to fill out one of the gold cards located in the pew in front of you so you can stay informed regarding all our activities. Just drop the card in the offering basket or in the box at the hello table in the foyer. For a list of what's going on today, after the service, check out the list on the back of your order of service. You'll also find a QR code that covers our recent news editions. Please know that whatever your religious history, whatever your spirituality, all people of goodwill are welcome here. Your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us whole. Our service will now begin.
Good morning. I'm Bea Doyle, and I serve our congregation as worship associate on the Sunday service committee and also as coffee hour barista. On Sundays, when Reverend Chris is in the pulpit, our Sunday service committee members share ministry by serving as Reverend Chris's worship associates. On Sundays, when she is not in the pulpit, we carry forward our UU tradition of lay-led services or guest speakers from different leaders within and from outside our congregation. Today is one of those services and will be led by a member of our congregation, Walter Ezell. Reverend Chris is on sabbatical this summer and will be back in September.
Letting Go, a reading by Jay Woolen. Are we a people of letting go or holding on? Holding on to rigid ideas, or letting go and opening our minds and our hearts to something new? Holding on to certainty of how things should be, or letting go and living with the uncertainty of new ways of being in the world? Holding on to what makes us comfortable, or letting go so we may grow, which can be uncomfortable? Holding on to what makes us safe, or letting go to make room to help others feel safe. With this flame, this symbol of our religion, let it be a symbol of burning up the ties that hold us back from being our true self and reaching our true potential. Let it be a symbol of lighting a new way for us into a better tomorrow. And let it be a symbol of letting go, because holding on too long and too tightly is never good for the soul. There is too much beauty in this world to give up on it yet, and is always too soon to surrender to cynicism. Bring your doubt, your skepticism, your downright confusion, even your bitterness. But in the midst of all these, in the center, wrap your tender fingers around that still bright thread of hope. Feel in your heart that still, steady hunger for something more, the vision we glimpse every day in the rising sun across the foothills, the light that spreads across the face of the one we love, the look of knowing all there is to know and still loving life, loving us just as it is, just as we are. For this hour we come to celebrate, to praise, to give thanks, to refuse to give up, to steady ourselves, keepers of hope, brave builders in this still possible world. Come, let us worship together. And we will now join and stand as you're able to sing hymn number 298.
morning. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at GOOF. I'm David Funderburk, and I want to welcome any children or youth or anyone of any age who'd like to see our story a little up close today to come sit on the floor at the base of the steps or in the front pews. Welcome. As Unitarian Universalists, we like to make covenants with one another in order to be in community together. Do you know what a covenant is? You said rules. He said rules. Sometimes people think of them as rules that we're supposed to follow. I try to reframe that and say that they're promises that we're making to one another. So one of the promises that Unitarian Universalists make to one another is that we promise to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Those are some big ideas, free and responsible search for truth and meaning. So I want to unpack that a little bit. What do we mean if we're searching for truth in the world and we're trying to make meaning out of the truth that we find? What does it mean? What does freedom have to do with that? What does it mean to be free? Do you have any ideas? Oh, you can be yourself without anyone having to judge you. Any other ideas of what freedom means? You could do anything you want to? What if what you want to do might cause harm? Oh, you said that's not freedom, that's free will. All right, so let's just say that freedom does mean doing whatever you want to do. Being yourself no matter what. That brings us to the other word. What do we mean about when we talk about responsibility? What does it mean to find truth and meaning in a responsible way? What do you think about that? Oh, she said if you tell a lie, but it's not, and you say that it's the truth, then someone might think that that's actually true, and that's not responsible? Oh, okay. Any other ideas out there? What does responsibility mean in our religion? We have to think of the consequences of what happens as we're searching for truth and meaning. Well, another thing that Unitarian Universalists love to do, it seems, is light candles. So, just in honor of these two ideas of truth, of freedom and responsibility, I have a candle I'd like to light for freedom, and I have another one for responsibility. So, now that we've talked a little bit about what freedom and responsibility are, I'm going to go ahead and light our candle for freedom. There we go. Maybe I'll sit this right up here. And then here, this one is for responsibility. But, this looks a little different. Why are you looking at me so funny? I ate the candle. I don't think that's Interesting. I'm curious. I want to take a little poll. Who here, raise your hand if you believed that I had 2 candles. Okay. Raise your hand if you believe that I ate one of the candles. There's fewer hands up there. So let me tell you what happened. This looked like a candle. It's actually a rutabaga. A rutabaga? You said, what's a rutabaga? It's what you buy at the grocery store when you go to get a turnip and they don't have turnips. So please excuse me for breaking the rule about bringing food into the sanctuary. But I want to point out that a lot of you thought, I don't know if you saw the hands, but a lot of people thought that I had 2 candles here. And you are free to search for truth wherever you find. But if you're responsible about your search for truth and meaning, then you'll know that sometimes you might learn new information that changes what you believed. And that's okay. And if we are searching for truth and meaning in a responsible way, then we'll know that there might be some things that we really believe and we really feel firm about, but we should always be open to questioning what we think we know, so that we can be responsible about it if we find out that something we thought was true turned out to be a lie. So, I'm starting to like rutabagas. So I encourage you, as you go out into the world this week, and I'll go ahead and extinguish our light for freedom. As you go out into the world this week, I want to encourage you to remember that you are free to search for truth wherever you are, but you should also question what you learn. And always be open to learning new information. So thank you for listening. And if you'd like to join me downstairs in the RE Commons, you can follow me.
Our congregation is entirely self-governed by democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and our institutional well-being. You are now invited to participate in the blessings of giving as the ushers come among you to accept the gifts of the congregation. Thank you. It is our custom in this congregation to share the joys and the sorrows that shape our lives, honoring each one with the lighting of a candle. We recognize that life is not always easy and that we all have moments of celebration and struggle. By sharing these experiences with one another, we can support and uplift each other as we navigate the significant events of our lives. Dave Wilder says, "Happy birthday to my mom, who would be 106 years old, and my grandmother, who would be 127. Happy birthday." A candle of birthday joy for Sarah Christenberry. She is 28 years old today. Raised by this fellowship, this community of wonderful people. And that's from Mom, Laura. And our daughter and son-in-law, Chelsea and Brian, are expecting their second baby in early January. We are over the moon. Their firstborn, Theodore, will be so excited till we welcome a new baby, and that's from Carolyn West. After nearly 3 years, Joni and Todd were able to hike the Carrig Trail on Table Rock. Yay. So much has changed since the fires, but regrowth and healing is happening, still a spiritual place. And that's from Todd. And also from Todd is Trey is happy to be back at Goof. And Trey is our four-legged little friend, right, Trey? I think so. Is that right? Okay, thanks. All right. And that is it for our joys and sorrows. We will light a final candle representing all the joys and sorrows present in our hearts that remain unspoken. We will now observe a brief moment of silence before the meditation words begin.
I am driven forward into an unknown land. The pass grows steeper, the air colder and sharper. A wind from my unknown goal stirs the strings of expectation. Still the question, shall I ever get there? There where life resounds, a clear, pure note in the silence. Now, please stand as you're able and willing and join in singing hymn number 289. Imagine a slender man with long, never-trimmed beard, hair trimmed to shoulder length with the sharp edge of a flint. While he stalks an antelope, a woman treads a well-worn trail in the shadows of the nearby forest, scanning the forest floor for edible plants. Life was hard, but it was the only life they knew. The man worked with the traditional knowledge of where wild things lived, how to track them, and how to bring them down. The woman's knowledge was of a different sort. She needed certainty. Which mushrooms were edible? Which would make her family sick? This precious certainty was passed down from generation to generation. Around the fire, families told a sad story of the mushroom a cousin ate as a boy and how he died soon after. For our ancient ancestors, a certain kind of certainty was required for survival. Life is different now, but we still hold on to that need for certainty, don't we? Today, that story about the boy who died too young would be called anecdotal evidence in the medical field. Scientists and medical specialists want controlled, double-blind studies that compare placebos to suspected remedies. But some among us still live in the Stone Age. They rely not on science, but on stories, incidents, episodes, and sometimes, to borrow a phrase from Shakespeare, tales told by an idiot. Still, some of these stories wear the garments of science. In 1998, Andrew Wakefield published a paper in the British medical journal, The Lancet. He told the story of 12 children who had taken a vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella, the MMR vaccine. He claimed that 9 of the children developed autism, and the rest had other developmental behavioral conditions. In the next decade, the journalist Brian Deere revealed that Wakefield misrepresented or falsified medical records and had financial conflicts of interest. He had financial links to lawyers suing vaccine manufacturers. Some children in the study were never actually diagnosed with autism, or they had developmental symptoms prior to having the vaccine. No subsequent rigorous studies ever duplicated the Wakefield's findings. Study after study confirmed the safety and effectiveness of the MMR vaccine. But in the years before Wakefield was disgraced, his study was featured in the New York Times, CNN, and 60 Minutes. He gained credibility with appearances on The Phil Donahue Show and The Oprah Winfrey Show. The Lancet, 12 years later, finally retracted the Wakefield article, but the damage was done. Vaccine skepticism was widespread. Even today, a hardcore 10% of Americans believe vaccines definitely or probably cause autism. Well, just 10%, is that a problem? In Spartanburg County, the epicenter for a recent major outbreak of measles coverage for the school-age population was recorded at 88.9%, which falls below the 95% threshold for herd immunity. So 10% is something to be concerned about. How is it that 28 years after that Wakefield study, the beliefs released into the wild by that one fraudulent study are still making children sick? The World Health Organization warns that we are in an infodemic. There's a new word, meaning that harmful information is spreading like an infectious disease. And today we see misinformation propagated at the very pinnacle of government agencies that are supposed to inform us about how to be healthy and safe. No Now, people want to believe in science. According to the professor of health law, Timothy Caulfield, people are falling for information that sounds science-y. There are quacks and charlatans out there. Charlatans know they are fooling people. Quacks believe their own nonsense. As Caulfield puts it, the believers and spreaders of bunk often have an unjustified certainty of their own knowledge about the relevant facts. He says, there is a growing body of evidence that suggests a robust association between narcissism and the belief in conspiracy theories and misinformation. He says, narcissists have a need for dominance, control, and uniqueness. Having access to allegedly unique, science-y knowledge plays to their narcissism. And those who believe misinformation and conspiracy theories have a strong desire to feel special. One large study looked at a large range of topics where the scientific consensus often differs from public sentiment, including climate change, nuclear power, vaccination, evolution, and genetically modified foods. You might be against some of these, so this might be triggering. I mentioned a few categories, but do your research from reliable sources. Let go of confirmation bias. Focus on getting unbiased information. And then, guess what? You can make up your own mind. But the study goes on to say, those individuals with the highest level of opposition have the lowest levels of objective knowledge. So we see that where science is involved, certainty and truth don't always walk hand in hand. As my friend Guy Otwell used to say, science is humble. There's an old joke about Unitarians. How do they terrorize people? They sneak in up at night and burn a question mark on your lawn. Well, we Unitarians do love burning questions. And some people are scared of uncertainty. In the recent questioning of Dr. Anthony Fauci before Congress, 1,000 pages of notes showed the government's highest placed expert on communicable diseases was expressing uncertainty at the beginning of the pandemic as he speculated about the origins of the coronavirus. This week, his interrogator in Congress interpreted this uncertainty as deception. But science is humble. Years ago, I wrote an op-ed for the Greenville News titled, "What if I'm wrong?" I received an angry letter from a woman who apparently did not want to enter the dangerous territory that I was inviting my readers to enter with me. She wrote, "What if you're wrong?" I thought I said that. And she went on to proudly state that her parents had taught her as a child what to believe about Jesus, and she had never doubted that ever since. I once gave a sermon about why people were so attached to the Confederate battle flag that flew over our South Carolina State House at that time. I went back to the lost cause. There were empty places at the dinner table after the Civil War among the Southerners who lived here then. The survivors needed to believe that their brothers, fathers, husbands, and sons had not died in vain, and surely had not died for something cruel and evil. Decades after the Civil War, an organization called the Daughters of the Confederacy began erecting monuments. There's one next to the Springfield Cemetery in downtown Greenville on Main Street, and it reads in part, "The world shall yet decide in truth's clear, far-off light, that the soldiers who wore the gray and died with Lee were in the right." In other words, someday the world will understand. Now, my sermon was no defense of neo-Confederates, but it was an appeal to understand the lost cause and the neo-Confederate people and not judge them harshly in their errors and false certainty, although certainty is often a red flag. In his December 1940 speech to German armaments workers, Hitler promised a future completely devoid of doubt. In the year 1941 will bring us on the Western Front the completion of the greatest victory in our history. The greatest victory in our history. Was it really Hitler that said that? Yeah, sounds familiar or something. What Hitler taught from his listeners was unquestioning obedience. But if victory is guaranteed, some people will think, why do we even need to try? We're going to win. Winston Churchill's iconic speech to the House of Commons on May 13th, 1940, leaned completely into contingency and sacrifice. Contingency, I mean, it depends on what we do. I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. You ask, what is our policy? I can say it is to wage war by sea, land, and air with all our might. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer that in one word. It is victory. Victory at all costs. Victory in spite of all terror. Victory, however long and hard the road may be, for without victory, there is no survival. There's that word survival again. But survival, in great part, is contingent upon what we do. We have agency. Survival doesn't depend on certainty. What Churchill offered was agency. Victory was not a promise, it was a goal, and the British Prime Minister needed people to wage war in unison to resist a would-be conqueror. When I was a naive 17-year-old who had just entered college, I told a girlfriend named Erica, I believe we have to love all mankind. And that means each individual. Even Hitler, I said. She didn't quite buy that. I was raised in Christian Science, which, like universalism, teaches that no one goes to hell. Even today, I believe there's no limit to how much we can forgive. Jesus said 70 times 7. But does that mean we have to minimize what someone did or deny it? I don't want to get into the weeds of discussing Hitler, but when he promised the greatest victory in our history, it could remind you of rhetoric we hear today. When I think of someone committing unspeakable wrongs, I remind myself they were once an infant, helpless, cradled and cared for. Someone loved them and celebrated when they took their first steps or spoke their first words. Trace far back enough in anyone's lifetime and you will find our common humanity. But where does that humanity go? How do we build a world where people entering the world in innocence never get so damaged that they commit the unthinkable. And the girl who grew up proud of never questioning what she was told to believe, can we reserve some compassion for her? And some, too, for the parents who think they are protecting their children by refusing vaccination. We still carry the survival instincts our ancestors carried. And it's hard sometimes to adjust to the changing challenges of civilization compared to the Stone Age. For some among us, promises without solid evidence are good enough, especially if they coddle us with the feeling of safety and certainty. But we need to move forward in this life, not with guaranteed outcomes, but instead living with some uncertainty. Still, we need to make informed choices. There's a middle ground, which I would call calibrated confidence. As we see people making different choices than we would make and treading different journeys, let's not feel superior, as we too sometimes fall short. Let me close with some words from my mother's favorite hymn. Speak gently. It is better far to rule by love than fear. Speak gently. Let no harsh word mar the good we may do here. Speak gently to the erring ones. They must have toiled in vain. Perchance unkindness made them so. Oh, win them back again. Now let's join in singing our closing hymn, number 1022. This one should be fun.
Good morning. This is a hymn that we've never done before. It's a calypso genre kind of music, originally from Trinidad and Tobago. So please try your best, join us. Should be fun, as Walter said. By the way, the choir started rehearsing again, 9:30. The choir room. If you want to join us, you don't need to learn. You don't need to know how to read music. All you need to know is that we are having a lot of fun.
We have a special reading for extinguishing the chalice today, so you won't find the words on the screen. Walter has chosen this reading, and it's entitled Hope Continues by Kevin Jago. When the candle dims, the wax almost spent, the light turns amber like a sunset. Still it provides light, still it provides heat, still it can kindle new flame and pass its glow on and contribute to new illumination. When sunsets turn to new days, when seasons transform all, when the candle dims, all is not lost. Hope continues, uncertain and true, like candlelight ready to spark again. All is not lost.
Take this as an invitation to imagine how wide the world can be, to face the closing doors before us and move toward the opening windows in our lives. Take this as an invitation to remember a critical truth that none of us have it all figured out, that we can help one another grow and change. Take this as an invitation to cross the thresholds of challenge, not on our own, not for ourselves alone, but side by side, spirits rising and expanding together. Let us go now to share our gifts and truths with each other and this world.